Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, earlier this year, 9-year-old Jerano Jacobus suffered 46% burns across his body after his home in Oudtshoorn was set alight. His life changed after he underwent a skin transplant. Foster mother and operations theatre nurse Pearl Rabane and her husband Jaru join us to talk about the importance of skin donation and the journey to Jerano's recovery. Welcome to the Loft family.
Good afternoon.
This is such a powerful story, and I think that is definitely one that South Africa needs to hear, of course. Seeing a live, beautiful, living patient that has become triumphant through it all. But it hasn't always been easier. Earlier this year, there was traumatic experiences that, of course, he had to go through. Mom, Pearl, do you want to go through what happened?
Jerano actually had to go through a couple of operations, and I think the most part is the recovery part with the dressings. I think all the kids that go through the skin donation and the dressings, I think that's the most difficult part for him. Fortunately for us, he's well and a blessing to us, and a very, very busy young man.
That is so beautiful. And parents, how did you come to become Jerano's foster parents?
Actually, my daughter works in the burns unit at Red Cross Memorial Hospital in C2. She actually came home and sold till I bought. And yeah, I bought, and here he is.
Stunning.
Yeah.
But this is such a moving story. I believe that Jerano's mom unfortunately passed during the incidents where the home was set alight. Do you want to, Father, take us through the step-by-step, what happened that day? Do we know what caused the fire?
To some extent, yes. I think Jerano and his mother was in bed. And then allegedly the father, or the husband, basically set them alight.
Wow.
Neighbors rushed in, and yeah, Jerano was then, I think, flown down to Cape Town. And you know, the amazing thing about it is that we now have Jerano here with us, but there's a whole chain of goodness that came through the whole process, you know, that brought him here today with us.
That is so beautiful. Jerano, how are you?
Fine.
You look incredible here today, so proud, standing so tall, of course. How was the experience like for you? How were those few months in the hospital? Was it a bit tough for you? Was it hard? Do you remember anything? You don't remember anything. Has your daughter spoken you through the process of the hospitalization?
Yes, he was very quiet in the hospital, and but he is not so quiet anymore.
I love that. Be loud and proud like me.
Yes, whenever he's in the house, we hear him all the time. In the shower,
Beautiful.
Watching TV, whatever he's doing, you will hear him coming a while away. Jerano has been very fortunate that in terms of the burns that he suffered, and he's doing quite well. He's an active young man. He's lost his one patella, but he rides a bike, he swings, he ice skates, he does all the things that a normal child would do.
And I'm sure you've come across these cases time and time again through your work as a nurse. What are some of the, how likely is this? Do you see cases like this happen quite a lot?
I worked with the adults, so I worked at Tiger previously. And yes, it's very difficult when you suffered such a huge amount of burns and there's not enough skin to cover. So it is extremely important that people should donate because otherwise we wouldn't have a blessing like this today.
Absolutely. And Dad, as soon as Jerano was welcomed back into the home, I believe it was in March, how did the aftercare look? How did the proceedings, cleaning, how much work did it take?
Actually, quite a lot. When Jerano arrived, he came with a bag full of medicines, you know, and 1 year later, the bag is gone, he's here. It's, I would say, a labor of love. Yeah. You know, there's 100 things that you need to do, and luckily, Jerano's a willing participant.
Yeah. And how much of the victim or the patient's buy-in needs to happen? Like, how much do they need to take care of themselves, as well as allowing you to put in that labor of love?
Look, I think if you... My wife just mentioned that he had 46% burns. any other person would have just give up, you know, and it seems like you now unfortunately don't have the pictures of when he was in hospital. He looked like a mummy, so I every now and then call him the mummy returned.
Oh, beautiful.
But the fact of the matter remains is that it's not us that maybe brought him here today. It is his own spirit, his fighting spirit that basically, and that he wanted to improve and become healthy.
Absolutely. And what do you want the families at home who are watching? What do you want them to know about your case? What do you want them to walk away with? Of course, I'm sure so many South Africans deal with this on a daily.
Interesting question.
Yes. I suppose for myself, I think what is so important is bringing up that awareness, not to give up, to keep fighting, and of course, how much you need to feed yourself as a caregiver to be able to give that love back. Yeah.
Look, Paul?
I think there's a huge demand for people to able to care for our kids, especially if they are victims of any loss that my son has suffered. But we can do our small bit by becoming an organ donor.
Beautiful.
We absolutely can do that.
Absolutely. So from us at Afternoon Express, we heard your story and we were simply moved. I think there is no person who is watching at home who is not touched by your spirit. And we just wanted to give you a little symbol of love, a little shining light to Jerano, of course. Come here, my boy. Are you ready to receive an incredible gift? Come sit on Auntie Pali's lap. Bring in the gifts, bring in the beauty. Oh, here it is. From the Afternoon Express family, we've decided to give you a few books that you can read and enjoy whilst you're at home, of course, with your family. Are you excited? Do you love it? Oh, thank you so much. Give me a hug. Oh, now make sure you tune in as our guests share some of their final thoughts as we wrap up the show on how to help burn victims. Stay right there.